Here I am. I finally worked my way down to an HA 925. Always was a little bit intimidated by those small wings, but here on Maui it's nuking pretty hard, so the starting of a smaller front foil is not as much of an issue. And once you got those things up, it's actually quite amazing how fast they are. And then here comes Armstrong saying, hey, look, we already got new gear. There's already progression. And they're giving me a new HA 880. Thank you guys so much. Super stoked on that. So today's video is going to be about trying to figure out the difference between those two. I'm going to go out and sail the old one first, and then I'm going to go out and sail the new one. And at the end, actually, I got a little bonus from the Armstrong guys, like a little steak knife front foil that I have no idea who and how is going to ride that. But today it is blowing probably about 30 knots. I have this place pretty much to myself. I'm gonna see how those two wings feel different. But first, let's have a little look at them on the characteristics. All right, so here we have the two guys. And notably, one thing, the H880 has 3 screws up in the front, while in compare, the old 925 are only 2 screws. So Armstrong is doing more screws to prevent torsion. And now we're going to put these two things right above each other and kind of see a little bit what of a difference we have. And the first thing that jumps into my face here is the HA 880 has a little bit of a shorter wingspan. We see that here. The cord at the wingtips is definitely a little shorter. And then mostly, if you look from the front, they have a complete different dihedral. You see the 925er has much more of a curvature than the 880. And the profile, if you can see that, is much thicker on the leading edge on the 880 than on the 925. So the characteristics are not gargantuously, but I think subtle enough for lots of changes. And the one thing that I really see here, you can see the curvature. You can see the curvature in those two wings. So that's going to be really interesting. And by all means, I am not an aviator or an engineer of some sort. I'm just your regular, average weekend warrior. And we're going to see how much of a difference this is going to make for me. All right, so first verdict on the old 925er. Still like that wing. In wind conditions like this behind me, absolutely zero problem to get started. So that's good. And for you guys that maybe are a little new to high aspect wings, they just start different than your regular mid aspect or low aspect wings. We have some videos on that too, so if you're interested, you can look at that. But out there, the testing conditions, yeah, it's blowing 25 to 30 knots for sure. So that made this whole thing a little bit interesting. But I like that wing. You flag out your wing, it glides, it follows the bumps, it's got good speed. I like the way that thing turns on the jibes and all of that. So I have really no complaints about that front foil, and I've been liking it. But now let's go and check out that 880 and what kind of a difference it makes. It felt same lifty like the 925, but more turny and still good upwind performance. I was really stoked on that. And I did a little downwinder out there and found some bumps behind the reef, and boy, that was fun there. Very glidey, that wing, lots of good lift. So very stoked on that. Do you throw out your old 925 right away and have to switch it? I don't think so, but it is definitely an improvement. A smaller area of wing, of foil, but same lift. I felt same lift, but faster and turnier. So that's kind of cool how they accomplish that. And that is, in my opinion, or in my guessing, in that leading edge profile. And we've seen this kind of trend going to thicker leading edges and then tapering off quicker towards the trailing edge. And you can see that in here, maybe just a little bit how that is. And speaking of downwinder, now in my bonus section here is we're gonna do and try the steak knife. So let's get that steak knife out. And this thing to me is about as intimidating as it gets. Look at the difference to that. And I know this steak knife, the Downwind 685, they sent me one of them too, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, how the heck are you supposed to get this out of the water? And that's for downwind paddling. And I'm like, not there yet, but I figured, like, you know what, maybe I should just try wing this thing. But look at the difference of that. We're gonna hold this right above each other, and you see the wingspan, bigger wingspan. Look at this, you can see that here, bigger wingspan, but it is so darn slim. Look at this line here, see this line here, guys, see that? So wow. And then the profile, super thick on the leading edge, and then it's got that turn down. So I'm gonna go try this out. That's gonna be my last tryout, and then we kind of conclude this thing and see where we're at. And I'm wondering how I'm gonna get this thing out of the water, but I'll find out. I've really never ridden this thing. Okay, wow, that thing was one thing and one thing only: fast. Amazing. That thing was so fast. Of course, in winds like this, it's not a problem to get that wing started. And wow, it was fast. I sailed it out into the bumps because it's a downwind foil. So I figured, hey, let's go out in those bumps. And yeah, I can see this thing is made for speed. I thought for sailing it upwind, a tip top, doing a jibe with it, tip top. But this thing, I don't think I could find the top speed on this thing. I was eating it pretty hard there because it was getting faster and faster and faster, and I'm thinking, like, is there a top speed on this thing? Because I couldn't find it, and boom, I felt somehow I got all uncomfortable and shaky, and I ate it. And this was just, yeah, that I think I want to ride this thing in a little bit more steady conditions, try downwinders with it. Very interesting. I'd say this is the most advanced foil that I have ever ridden. Very, very interesting experience. Nothing for beginners, guaranteed not. And let's conclude this thing here real quick with the two HAs in comparison. So here we have them. We have the two HAs, and you can already see the 925 more cord along the center line basically, and almost the same wingspan, and the 880 just less cord, little slimmer, so definitely faster. Probably also the turniness coming from the rounder tips would be my guess. And then in comparison, real quick, just to throw the other guy in, the steak knife Downwind 685, and you can just see the difference there, why this thing is so fast. I have a lot of fun riding all of them, and I hope you guys had fun watching this video, so we can see you in the next one.